Now, I don't know about you sat at home, but I cannot remember the last time I have enjoyed this many successive episodes of Raw as I'm going through right now. We must be up to 5, maybe 6 good episodes of Monday Night Raw in a row now, and I don't know how to compute that information. The highlights for me, we had Randy Orton looking like a psychotic killer, levels of 2009 and all that stuff. He's terrifying. Riddick Moss proving he is perhaps the most fluid professional wrestler in the world today. Seriously. That pinfall, ooh. But, and I don't know if this is just me, but to me, it looks like Kevin Owens and the Viking Raiders and Seth Rollins and his disciples have turned into one of those sofas that can also be a chair. One of those things, right, you can make into many different formations. It could be a 3-seater sofa, it could be a 1-seater chair, but at the end of the day, it's a thing that does the same job, but each way you set it up, it looks a little bit differently. The point I'm making is, have we seen too much already from the Vikings and Kevin Owens versus Rollins and the Disciples? I think we might have. Let's move on. WTF! Now, we all know back in the movie Jackass 1, Steve-O talked about how his dad said that he wasn't mad, he was just disappointed, and that hurt Steve-O so much more. But however, person with that sign, we can't be disappointed in what Randall Keith did to Edge a few weeks ago. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, Randall Keith is a no-good cock-juggling snack. It's what we should be expecting from him. I don't know about you sat at home once again, but I'm as mad as all of these WWE mad-related faces are when it comes to Randall and what he did to Edge. I cannot wait for Edge to get his mitts on that no-good cock-juggling snack. And oh my goodness me, if you watched that match between MVP and Ronald Mysterious on Raw a couple of weeks ago, you know what I'm going to say. It was announced right at the start of the show that WWE actually invited MVP back to do some more wrestles. Why? Was my immediate thought. As we were going to see later in this episode, MVP wouldn't do too much in that match against Drew McIntyre, but when that was announced at the start of the show, I could not believe my eyes. One Cultaholic sign in attendance at last night's Raw, and thank you goes out to Zachary Turner for putting my name on a sheet of paper with some other men's names. And also, hi back to you. Next time you go to a show, spread the good name of Cultaholic throughout the WWE happen. So at the start of the show, we learned that there was a match booked between Randall Keith Orton and Matt Hardy, no holds barred, but when Randy was out cutting his promo at the start of the show, Matt was still backstage trying to get medically cleared. So WWE promoted heavily a match where they didn't even check if one of the competitors was medically cleared to compete in the match they heavily promoted. And naturally, of course, this takes us back to SmackDown a few weeks ago when large, bald man Adam Pearce told Sasha Banks right in her face, Sasha, the match is being promoted, the match is going to happen. Just imagine if you were on social media before this week's Raw thinking, ooh, I might watch it, I might not, then you see Matt Hardy versus Randy Orton promoted, you think, oh, that's got me hooked. I want to see Matt Hardy get his own back. Dave Benson Phillips, and then they go and do that. They booked the match even though they knew fine well it was never ever going to happen. WWE, you immoral bastards. And then we get to Matt Hardy, who eventually came out and said that he still wants to know what is wrong with Randy Orton. And as if you still don't know what is wrong with Randy Orton after the past 10 years of Randy Orton being a wrong'un, Matthew. Be careful now. It's simple. He's broken. Ha ha. And all that malarkey. But Matthew, the crucial difference is he doesn't call it being broken, he calls it having a self-destructive personality or intermittent explosive disorder. Otherwise known, of course, Randy Orton has some sort of impulsive anger issue, which is much like a serial killer. There's a thing on Netflix at the minute about a man with a few teeth. He's got what Randy Orton appears to have. But rather than get Randall Keith sorted out, WWE keep putting him on their television shows, letting that man try to kill many men in front of the world every single week. It's a bit wrong, isn't it, really? Seth Rollins is the type of guy that Instagrams his breakfast, that sign says. Now I was thinking, well, he is a heel, isn't he? All heels do that kind of stuff on social media, don't they? Unlike me, of course, who is a white meat babyface who shares pictures of a pot noodle sandwich. Let me know what you think at Ross on Wrestling for more fire content. And then we get to Randall Keith Orton once again, who said to Matt Hardy, you should have said goodbye last week while you still could leave the arena on your 2 feet. I mean, Matt Hardy might have been sitting down while he did that, Randall Keith, but look, he bloody well did. And we all know what's happened here. Vince McMahon has seen Matt Hardy tweet that out after last week's Raw, and he's got a little bit angry, hasn't he? He said to himself, Matt, I decide when you die, not you! And then he booked Matt Hardy for another appearance when the initial plans for Matt in the midst of this storyline between Randy Orton and Edge culminated last week. He changed the plans because he owns people. And quite frankly, once again, we watch a segment where a legend gets killed by Randall Keith Orton and WWE's babyface roster. You are a bunch of softies. Pass it on. You're telling me for another week as we're watching legends like Edge and Matt Hardy get murdered right in front of our eyes, there's not one babyface in the WWE locker room noble enough to come out and do something about it? Oh, I bet they were on the WWE Network and on YouTube when Edge came back at the Royal Rumble or when Matt came back at WrestleMania 33. Like, oh, I looked up to these people when I was a bairn. Ooh, now they can't do anything. Utter houses. And then we have to look at the WWE officials as well. They can't not be blamed as well. Large bald man Adam Pearce watching yet another superstar get murdered with a chair to the head. He's the guy, of course, who always comes out when there's a brawl and says things like, what are you doing, man? And stop it, man, what are you doing? Where was he? Where was the officials? Where was the baby faces? Why does nobody like Matt Hardy? And I don't know who is the biggest heel coming out of that opening segment to last night's Raw. Is it Randy Orton for doing what he did? Is it the two sick bastards behind Randy Orton for laughing? Is it woman in glasses? Or is it mini Rhea Ripley? Those screenshots I've just shown there were taken in the immediate aftermath to Randy Orton doing a concerto to Matt Hardy's head on the stairs, and look at them. I was getting really angry looking at them. They were so happy. They were seeing joy in another man killing another man. I felt the need to call Body Moving and John Green to perform background checks on all of those sick bastards. What's wrong with you? And then to think that bald guy behind Randy Orton is wearing a Seattle Dragons t-shirt. My XFL team, I'm ashamed I am. Shame on you. And then it beggars belief. We get to this old fella in the front row who wants to fist bump Randy Orton. Randy Orton, of course, who might just have killed another man live on television. What the hell is wrong with the people from Everett, Washington, United States of America? I have no idea. And that's before we get to the fact that by the end of the segment, they were chatting one more time, Randy. Do an RKO one more time. Do a concerto one more time. It's you're all disgusting. And this is when the penny dropped for me at the sight of Erick Rowan's cage, or pen as they're calling it now, and remembering what happened on last week's Raw. What's inside of Erick Rowan's pen? It's Shayna, isn't it? And I'm sure people might have mentioned this before. It's quite an obvious thing to say in the circumstances. But when Erick walked out on this week's Raw, the penny dropped for me. And I never saw that coming. And then when you're watching Erick, Rowan and Aleister Black come out to have a singles match live on Raw, you go through this weird mental process where you realise that Rowan, Black and probably the Viking Riddick as well will not have a pointless squash match on an episode of Raw for the first time since the year 200 AD. And forget about the end coming now. The end has come and gone. We're in the twilight zone. I don't know what's going on. The end is nigh. The end is nigh. Time to run away. The end is nigh. And when that match graphic there was shown on last night's Raw, I was thinking, is there any real point to this whatsoever? I mean, Shayna's winning, isn't she? Unless she doesn't. But she will. Is this too predictable? As I'm stood here watching the promo from Shayna where she dropped a bloody S-bomb. Can you believe it, eh? I'm thinking it might be as WWE's choice Is it their choice? It must be their choice. It's got to be their choice. Their choice to have 45 pissing events between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania is biting them on the arse. And next up we have Charlotte Flair, who walked out, and when she did so, Jerry Lawler said that he doesn't know if he's ever been as proud as he has for anybody when Charlotte rocked up to NXT TakeOver Portland on Sunday and attacked Rhea Ripley from behind and then accepted her challenge to a match on the grandest stage of them all, Point. And when Jerry said that, I was thinking, what a weird statement that is. Jerry, you're telling us you have never been more proud of anybody in the history of your life. You've got a family, remember, Jerry, than when Charlotte sneaked up behind somebody and attacked them and said some words to their face on a microphone in front of a live crowd. Is it weird or is it sad? So then we have MVP name dropping the big yin as he compared Drew McIntyre to Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly getting a name drop on an episode of Raw in the year 2020 by MVP. You didn't see it coming, but you do like to see it. So it's a WTF moment for me. Some people say I look like me da. And then we have Becky Lynch, who came out with a massive bag of ducats, a big bag of money, because she wanted to put some money on the floor, because what she's going to do to Shayna Baszler will result in a fine from WWE. And when she did that and said that she's expecting a fine from WWE for maybe punching Shayna in the face, maybe biting the back of her neck, who knows what she might do. Last week on Raw, Becky Lynch stole an ambulance from actual medical professionals. She drove the ambulance to a local hospital, parked it in the car park, went inside, got treatment, came back outside to the same ambulance that was still parked where she left it. She then put the sirens on and drove back on public roads to the arena where Raw was. And nothing happened to her. I think you're going to be fine, Becky. The law obviously does not apply to you for some reason. I don't know. Do you know why? Let me know. Well, this was awkward, wasn't it? We have Lana calling herself and her penis, Lana and her Bobby, and Zelina Vega and Angel Garza, the two hottest couples. And I don't know about you, but as soon as Lana said that, no matter where he was inside that arena, I just imagined Aleister Black rising up like he did at the start of his entrance with a really angry head. Because he wants to obviously pick a fight with Lana. A verbal one, I guess, but still a fight nonetheless. So Kairi's saying she's in pain. That might make me laugh. But the WTF moment here is Jerry Lawler, who says, looks like she just ate some day-old sushi. And I wonder what made him say sushi. I wonder if Jerry Lawler would have mentioned sushi if it was Natalya, who Kairi was facing at the time, of course, if she was the one who had taken a knock. I mean, Natalya is a cat, of course, so she likes all of the fish. But still, Jerry, keep up with the times, will you? And then we have a direct quote from Buddy Murphy, who said, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to the man that single-handedly saved Monday Night Raw, the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins. Now, first of all, Matthew Gregg on the Cultaholic Wrestling podcast always says Seth Rollins for some reason, and I never understand why. So we'll leave that one alone, I guess. But the Monday Night Messiah, Buddy Murphy? What the hell's an Messiah? And naturally, of course, I went straight to Urban Dictionary. An Messiah, apparently, is a girl who is very non-judgmental, loves to have fun, isn't a couple of really bad words that I don't want to repeat here right now. But she is still one sexy bitch. That's right, Buddy Murphy. That's Seth Rollins, the Monday Night Messiah. And I don't want to say this, but I'm going to anyway, because I am the bastion of basic bitch content here on YouTube. But when Kevin Owens did that stunner to Buddy Bloody Murphy, an Australian man, of course, he went and sent him round the bloody twist. Because it's a thing in Australia. But on a more serious note, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody in a WWE ring do a back somersault ting from a Stone Cold Stunner. Have you? You probably have. Let me know. I'm wrong, probably. And we end these WTF moments with a direct quote from Seth Rollins when he said right to Kevin Owens, Kevin Owens, now it's time for us to crucify you. Flashbacks to ECW or what? Now, hearing Seth Rollins say that and knowing things about professional wrestling like I do, I'm sure Kurt Angle works for Monday Night Raw behind the scenes as a producer. We all know the old story, don't we? He went to ECW, he saw the ECW crucifixion, and he thought, no, Chief, that ain't it. I want now to do with ECW. So just imagine if the Street Profits didn't come out and save the day. Kurt Angle would no longer be working for WWE because Seth Rollins would have crucified Kevin Owens. Maybe. I doubt it, but still, it's worth saying. And that's it for your WTF moments from Monday Night Raw. Again, a largely enjoyable show. How long will they keep this up? Tune in next week to find out. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments below. You can follow us on Twitter at Cultaholic. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cultaholic. And if you enjoy what we do here at Cultaholic, you can pledge to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Cultaholic. Hit subscribe and join us